Hello! I thought I would share this moment with you. I am updating Iiosia.com to finally contain the Iiosia role-playing game rules version 1.4. It has taken a long time. I've been working on this since basically the last game that we played of this, which I think was back in November. It was A Strange Awakening, and it's on this channel actually. And when we played that, there was some things in the game that I didn't particularly like. I thought I could expand on, change and such. And so I started rewriting the rules for IRPG and just adding and changing and tweaking. And now I'm done. Now I am done. And I said I'd be done at the end of May, and I'm a little bit early, I'm pleased to say. I must admit that I am burnt out with this project. I've worked on it diligently and regularly and pretty damn hard for the past couple of months. Certainly the past 2 or 3 months I have been doing this in a lot of my spare time, and I need a break from it. So it's not perfect. I gotta give it another go. I'll tell you what, maybe I'll just do that, save it, and then publish it. Okay, I'm sure it'll work. Yeah, it's not 100%. I'll say that now. There are a couple little formatting issues. I haven't proofread it all. Some bits are better than others. If we go through it here, I'm not going to go through the entire bloody thing that I've changed, as I've resisted in other videos discussing this as well. Just a brief overview. The core rules, actually, no, that's fine, it's publishing now. The core rules, a lot of it is the same as it was, but I've taken a lot of stuff out. Because I've taken things out, I've got to make sure that everything else doesn't refer to what I've taken out. So it was a lot of reading, a lot of nitpicking and stuff like that. And I've also changed a lot of things in there. I've added more fluff. I've talked about what role-playing is. I've added a lot of introduction for fresh and new players to the hobby and to the game. And I've approached it in a much more sort of calm way. I think it's clearer. I think it is more concise. It's slightly less long, and it should be more approachable for people, sort of like just reading it for the first time, if you like. And then the Games Master's Tome here is the book that contains all the optional and additional rules. So that's where I've plunked everything that I've taken out of the rulebook into the Game Master's Tome, so that you can use those rules when you get used to the core basic mechanics of the game, and add them as you want. You just go down, you keep and you read down the Games Master's Tome until you feel like you've got enough there, and then you stop. But it's also got sections on it about how to be a good GM. I want to expand a bit on that section in particular, but it's got things like, how to use fate. I will bloody open it up, screw it. If we go into the GM Tome, it's towards the bottom. It's towards the bottom. Running a game and stuff like that. See, there we go. So it's how to award fate points in the game if you're running one. Hints and tips about things and loot and such like that. Because I want to get away from the whole +1 longsword thing and things like that. So it's to balance it and make it how I think, as the maker, it should be played. It doesn't have to be, of course, but it can be. And there's a lot of semi-detailed rules in these. It's not that the rules are difficult, but they just add more. Like your weapons and armor can be damaged now, so you have to replace them, and that just keeps sapping away at your gold, your coin and such. You can buy extra equipment. There's different damage types, just in terms of sharp and blunt, and different monsters and enemies have different resistances to both, which is basically just a damage reduction once it's all worked out. It's pretty simple. Everything in the game, I reckon, is pretty simple. Taken on its own, it's just how much of it you want to use. So I'm really pleased with it in that regard. I've also gone into the Magic Manual, and it's not updating. That's wonderful, isn't it? Oh, let's just check. it's updated anyway. Yeah, it's there. So even though it's failed, it hasn't. It is there. Yep, there we are. It's completely works just fine. So it's online. The only thing I need to do now is go into here and update this link to the video that I'm making right now. Brilliant. So we've also got the magic manual, which I've redone. I've rewritten most of the spell descriptions. As we'll see, I'm gonna show you. Bear with me. Yeah, there it is. Most of the spell descriptions just don't really do a random thing. Have more in them now. They're more in depth. They're a bit more balanced, I feel. I've added 1 or 2 spells as well, and I've taken 1 or 2 spells out that I didn't think fit very well. It still lacks a bit of fluff. I think what I might do after my next little project next month, which is to play a game of this with a couple of friends, or privately, you know, in real life, is to write some little stories. And in doing so, just tiny little stories, you know, like maybe a paragraph or 2, featuring these spells and special abilities, so I can slot them in there and just add a bit of fluff. So this is all been redone and everything. The thing I'm least happy with is the bestiary, which I've basically just brought in line with everything else that I've done. So I've updated a lot of stats, and I've all the profiles are more or less the same, but they're in a different format. And show don't tell. But this is the one I'm least happy with, due to certain little issues. But it's all just been added a little bit more. Now I was going to do more here. I was going to go into sort of like what special abilities these guys can have, and a little more detail into their loot and equipment and such like that. But I just didn't, because this was the last thing that I did, the bestiary, apart from a couple little things here and there. And I didn't want to do anymore. I really just didn't want to do anymore. So I'm releasing it, so I don't rush it. I can just stop now. I can draw a line under it. I'm perfectly happy with how it is, more or less. There are no post-its about this game around my monitor at all. I have reduced it from about 20 to none, which is brilliant. And that's a nice feeling in itself. I should have taken a picture of it when it was fully populated. It was ridiculous. I couldn't actually see the frame of my monitor. So yeah, I'm 95% happy with it. And this brings me to another point that I was thinking about as I was doing it, because I'm not happy with certain things in it. Certain abilities could be better, this could be better, that could be better. But I've got to wonder whether people who release games, you know, professionally, Dungeons and Dragons, etc., especially in the early days when they're a lot smaller, were really happy, you know, when they released Dungeons and Dragons version 2 or 2.5 or whatever, or 3 or 3.5. I don't think there was 2.5. Were they really happy with it? Did they release this and go, yes, this is brilliant? Or did they have that nagging feeling that something was missing, that there was something wrong, something they could have done better, something that didn't fit? I think the answer is yes. I think there's always something you can improve on. There's always something else to do, something to add, something to change. And that's kind of the appeal, really. You're never done. Same with world building as well. No matter how much detail you put into it, there's always a little more you can do. Iiosia is pretty much fleshed out as far as the bare bones are concerned, but obviously I haven't done much with the actual world building itself, because I've been doing this for the best part of a year now. So what's next? Well, as mentioned on the home page, or at least on the updates, I'm going to play a game I'm going to have to change that as well, well, I'm going to have to add this, so it's no big deal, of IRPG with some friends. So that's going to happen next month. It's going to be similar to the last game that we played on the channel, because it'll be featured on the channel, because it'll be on a table and everything, but it'll be kind of similar. And then start of July, a new project. Now, I did mention those little stories and such, which could be a nice way to get my creative juices thrown in again, because it's a different thing, isn't it? When you're making the rules for a game, it can be quite clinical. You've got to think about bonuses and mechanics and stuff like that. How well you're writing in terms of, is it clear? Does it conflict with this and that? And it's very clinical and very mechanical, if you like. And it's creative, but it's a different type of creative from writing a story, which is much more imaginary and so that's what I want to get back into, honestly. And it's a nice contrast to have, really, within one hobby, two different types of creativity. So I'll be doing those little stories, and then I don't really want to say because I could change my mind, but I'm thinking about doing something for NaNoWriMo and revisiting something pretty old of mine that has remained untouched for a number of years, and it's something that is quite close to my heart, and I do want to finish it. And it's within Iiosia, but it's also a very personal story in many ways. So the little blurbs of stories, if you like, will be not a prelude, but like a warm-up, you know, a little warm-up, do little stretches, and then we'll see how I feel for this project, which I'm actually kind of scared about doing because, you know, it's such a big thing for me. Am I good enough, sort of thing? But we shall tackle that when I get to it. For now, I'm going to take a little bit of a rest for a couple of days. I'm going to brainstorm about this IRPG game that I'm going to be doing, which again kind of mixes the storyline with the mechanics, so it's a different sort of creativity than actually making the game. And I shall see you guys in about a month, where I will update at the start of July, probably about how the game went, share my thoughts with that and any other updates I might include with IRPG version 1.4.1. And then we'll get into the story thing, I reckon. So I'll leave that with you. It's done. If you are interested enough to actually click this link here and download this, please do. Please give it a read, even if you don't want to play it. I'd really appreciate if some people just read it, see if it made sense, see if you see any mistakes, because there will be. It's very hard to proofread your own writing, and equally, it's very hard to explain something that you already know, to someone who doesn't know. I mean, I actually find it reasonably easy, but it's very easy to gloss over things that you know, and so you don't think to explain it. So if there's anything you think can be improved or whatever, I'm going to give it a look through. Just, you know, read a page or whatever. It doesn't matter if you want to take a look at it. Compliment me, please. You know, if you think it's good, because that would be great to hear as well. Although constructive criticism and, you know, any mistakes that there may be, then of course update me with them as well, and I will make notes of them and do them as and when I feel like it. Right, I am going to stop rambling. I'll see you in about a month. I am very happy. I have finished this major project. It's all up to 1.4. Hooray! It all meshes. There's no 1.0 magic manual. It's all up to date. It's all should work fine. And yeah, very pleased with the way it's looking. So I will see you in about a month, as I said. Thank you very much for watching and humouring me, and I'll see you soon. Toodaloo.